Hey, Chiropassion champions and chiropractors across the world. I wanted to have a discussion with you for a few minutes, and I certainly think it's a really important one, and that is, it's about how we got here. Like, how did we get here? How did you become a chiropractor? Why are you a chiropractor? Why does chiropractic exist? At least how we know it. There was a movie I saw a number of years ago, and it was called Lorenzo's Oil. And for anyone maybe not familiar with it, or a quick reminder, there was a young boy who was born with ALD disease, an inability to make a certain fatty acid in his body. And it was a disease that was rare. And so there wasn't a lot of effort or money into really finding out a cure or what caused it. But he was born to two uh, parents from Italy, and humble beginnings, no formal education of any type, and their child was becoming sicker and sicker, and the prognosis is death for this young child. And so the parents, in searching, basically got the same answer from everybody, that he's going to die. They joined support groups, and the support group said he's going to die. I mean, that's the progression of the disease. So the father refused to believe this, and a non-formally educated Italian immigrant into the United States started a journey to identify and discover why this disease existed in his son, and to try to come up with a cure. And as the movie goes, in the end, he came up with a cure for the disease. He was unable to save his son from a lot of the damage of the disease, but he was certainly allowed his son to live 15 years longer because of what he found out. He was given honorary degrees to these colleges in molecular biology because of what he discovered. Because he discovered a fatty acid that they would give the child that his body genetically had the inability to make. And why that's important is, when you think about it, sometimes it sounds a little far-fetched and it sounds like a lot of Hollywood, but in reality, that's what happened. You had this guy of humble means change the world. If the oil is administered to a child or with early diagnosis, he never develops the disease. It prevents the child from ever having the disease in the first place. If the disease is already developed, if it hasn't developed severely, much of the disease can be reversed, and the child could prevent from aging and with the disease and live a normal, long, healthy life. And you think about when you watch the movie, and granted, it's only 2 hours of a several-year journey in this man's life and this family's life. But when you watch it, you realize what depth he was willing to go in an effort to change the world. And his world was his son. How far are you willing to go? What are you willing to sacrifice in order to his own means of happiness, his own means of income? They ran into financial trouble and personal trouble, marriage challenges, friendship, relationship challenges with other people in an effort to find a cure for this disease. And he did it. He did it. And there was nothing that was going to stop him. The fact that he never was formally educated in chemistry, the fact that he was never formally educated in physics, biology, medicine, nothing stopped this guy, because his ultimate goal was to save his child. He would figure it out along the way. Anything necessary in order to save his child's life, he would figure out. And it's a great story. And it's a true story. And, so what does that have to do with my title? How does the death of a mother have to do with you being a chiropractor? There was this guy sitting at a table with his wife and 3 children. And everything seemed okay. Everybody seemed healthy. Everybody seemed happy. The guy ran a grocery store, and he developed a way to use ice to bring fish to people's houses. And he grew strawberries, and he made honey. And, he was a pretty simple guy. He started trying to make some money teaching school, and didn't have any formal education in medicine or biology. Didn't really have any desire to be in healthcare at all. And his wife became ill and died. And soon after, he's sitting at a table with his 3 children without their mother, without a woman he loved. His heart was broken. And he asked the dangerous question that changed all of our lives, if you're listening to this, and that is, why'd she die? Why would she die? And maybe this sounds familiar to you. How is it that we sit at the same table, eat the same food, drink the same water, breathe the same air, and yet somebody dies and the rest of us are healthy? That didn't make sense to him. He didn't understand it. I don't understand if everything that I see is the same. Everything I see at their table is the same. And my wife, who I love, Lavinia, she dies. And yet my children seem fine and I'm fine. How is it that she died? Why would she get sick? Why would she get diseased and the rest of us be unafflicted? There's something else that I don't know that isn't seen by the naked eye that would cause her to get sick and disease and die. And that father was Dee Dee Palmer. His wife was Lavinia Landers. And one of those children at the table was B.J. Palmer. And it was at that point that Dee Dee started the journey. He started the journey of trying to figure out why the love of his life died. He tried to figure out why and how the mother to his children died. How is it that she was no longer with us? Why is it that she died and the rest of us were okay when we sat at the same table, drank the same water, breathed the same air, broke the same bread, ate the same food? It didn't make sense to him. He didn't become a magnetic healer because he wanted to become a magnetic healer. He didn't become somebody in studying spirituality or the essence of what caused life or what biology and medicine. He didn't set out to come up with a new form of healing or a new way to make people live longer or a better quality of life. He didn't start out for that. He started much like that movie Lorenzo's Oil. He started off as a humble guy wanting to live a normal, humble life, and then tragedy was struck. And because of that tragedy, he was willing to do anything and everything, almost to bring his wife back, right? To bring her back. And then, you realize obviously that's not right. So that's not going to happen. So then he's on the journey to say, how do I find a cure for sickness and disease? What's causing the body to get sick and break down when everything else is being provided for? Why is it that she got sick and diseased and her body broke down and the rest of us didn't? And it was then that he did magnetic healing. It was then that he did readings of biology and chemistry and understanding life. It was then that he studied osteopathy and the vital force through the circulatory system and magnetic healing through the vital force and energy transfer and chi through the body. And he did neurologic tracing. And after he studied all this stuff, he's like, wow, you know what? It's not the blood flow that brings life force to the body, right? And it's the nervous system. By doing nerve tracing, he realized, wow, everything comes from the brain, goes through the body. Starts in the brain, goes to the body, and it goes through the spinal cord, and it brings life through quantity and quality of that intelligence or force. Was able to allow the body to work better, and the better that communication was, the healthier your body was, and the better your body worked, and the improved function of your body, and you're going to live longer. He never said that nutrition and exercise and those other things were meaningless. He basically said, hey, listen, this is something that's of vital importance in order for your body to work as well as it's supposed to. And it was really through the death of his wife, the death of his children, that caused him to go through the journey. So just like Lorenzo's father went through the challenges and sacrifices that he did, Dee Dee went through that, right? He went through being scorned and laughed at and ridiculed. He went through developing a new profession and staying up late. And, you think about it, like he didn't have electricity. He didn't have a furnace. He drove horses down to his Ryan building on the 4th floor, and he had to start his own, stove with wood or coal in order to heat it up. And he was doing anatomy dissections and setting type and writing books under candlelight. Like, if you really think about what this guy did, and you think about what he went through and what he endured, and then he's being arrested and thrown in jail, why would he do that? It wasn't even for chiropractic in and of itself. He did it because he lost the love of his life. He did it because his wife passed away. He did it because his children were left without a mother. And it was a standard in which he was no longer willing to accept. And he wanted to find out why. And he wanted to make sure that he had an answer to it, essentially so no one else would live through that same pain or have to endure the same tragedy. That's why you're a chiropractor. It wasn't because Harvey Lillard got his hearing restored, though he did, and that's awesome. It wasn't because Samuel Weed had a back problem, he got adjusted, and we were named chiropractic after the two Greek words, right? Praktos and chiro. Like, that isn't why. That was the end result. Why is because of a love story. Why? Because the story of a man who lost his wife and the mother of his children. That's why you're a chiropractor. And I don't think it's a story, and I've told it before, I don't think it's a story that we think about. How do you change the world? There's 3 ways you change the world. 1, you find a cause. 2, you educate yourself on the cause. 3, you become responsible. So when you look at somebody like Gandhi living in India as a young attorney, and one day walking along the sidewalk, and he, as the story goes, and he sees the British, if you will, abuse some of the people from India, and he just said, this is wrong. This isn't equal. This isn't how humanity should treat each other, and this is intolerant. So, Gandhi changes his way, right? Nelson Mandela, same thing, similar story in Africa, right? He changes it because of how people treat each other. Martin Luther King changes, primarily through the influence of his mother, how people are treated, and says, what, in order to treat somebody that way, they must be damaged inside. They must not have God. They must not have love in their heart and their soul. And what did they go through? Abraham Lincoln, what did he go through? Mother Teresa sees people dying of poverty and the lack of hope in Africa, right? And she says, wow, this is intolerable to me. This isn't going to work for me, right? George Washington, as a young man, sees the way that people were being treated in the colonies and said, wow, this is wrong to treat other human beings this way. That we're not ownership of another country, of another land. They became intolerant, and then what are they willing to do, right? So they find something, that a cause, they inform themselves on it. And what we do as chiropractors, we have to inform ourselves on subluxation. What is subluxation? And inform yourself in the science and the philosophy and the metaphysics of it. Inform yourself to every degree that you possibly can. And then the magic is becoming responsible. Become responsible. You know what? It's not medicine's fault that people are sick. It's our fault. Or certainly partly our fault. We don't get out there enough. We don't communicate enough. We don't work hard enough to have a common thread of communication. We don't work hard enough to have a common thread of connection amongst ourselves to influence the world, to bring to the world what we do as chiropractors. I mean, if you've got 60, 70, 80,000 chiropractors on the planet, and you've got a dysfunctional group that we aren't working together to make a change. Listen, there's a lot more that we all agree with than we disagree with. And the reality is, find out where we can agree and then come together to make a difference. Because what we have certainly can change the world, not just in its application of the adjustment, but the understanding of innate, the understanding of what the philosophy is, the idea that there's this vital, intelligent force within the body that's always moving towards health and wellness, and that if nurtured, the body's going to work better. That doesn't negate nutrition and exercise, but it's separate from what we do as chiropractors. No one checks the spine to ensure that life can flow and fully express through the spinal cord and through the nervous system, and only chiropractors do that. And it's vital for your spine. It's actually a requirement and a necessity for your spine to be checked regularly in order to do that. Everybody on my wall behind me, my wall of My dad always said, who's sitting on your porch? These guys are sitting on my porch, my wall of inspiration, what they went through. It's a reminder what Sid Williams went through and Harvey Lillard went through and Dee Dee and BJ and Mabel and Stevenson and Reggie and what they all went through in order to make us be who we are today, and to carry that sacred trust to move it forward. But I also think it's important to understand that we came from chiropractic was birthed from love. It was birthed from a man who wanted to come up with the answers to why. Why did his wife pass? Why did his children lose their mother? And I think if you know that, I think it's important to know our history. I think if you know that, it makes a lot more sense as to why those men and women of those early days went through what they did in order to do what they did to allow us to be our chiropractors today. I think it gives a greater gravity, a greater importance, a greater significance to who we are and what we do today. And I think if we really feel that and understand that, I think maybe we can own a little bit of what Dee Dee did and what he went through in order for us to go a little bit further. In times of uncertainty and times of challenges, we're always going to rise up to our highest level of training, your highest level of conviction. And in the end, what is your highest level of conviction? And I think by knowing our history and knowing where we came from, it raises our level of conviction and makes you want to go a little bit further. Vince Lombardi used to say, the more you sacrifice, the harder it is to surrender. So in reality, the harder I work, the more I work on myself, the more I work on my practice, the more I understand the science of chiropractic and subluxation, and the more I understand the mechanism of the subluxation mechanically, the more I understand how to run my practice, the more effort I put into myself and my practice. But it's harder to quit. In fact, just the opposite. I think it gets you a pit in your stomach and a fire in your belly, and you're saying, hey, let's go for it. Just like these guys did, 100 plus years ago. And I think we need a lot more of that right now if we're to make an impact in the world, because that's what the world needs. The world needs an impact. The world needs what we have as a message in order to change it. So that's what I do. I had a great day of coaching with a bunch of docs from 6 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon. We had a webinar. It was great. Teaching, leading, inspiring, creating an impact in other chiropractors' lives and their practices, so that I can certainly lead them to be the best version of themselves, so they could see more people, have a greater influence on the health of their community, make the world a healthier place, impact more lives, and hopefully make better chiropractors, so that the next generation and the next generation of chiropractors, they become better. They're carrying on our message. They're carrying on the message that was given to me by Reggie and Sid and Jim Sigafus, and that message was given to them by BJ, and that message was given to BJ by Dee Dee Palmer. And it's pretty cool how all that flows. So thanks for listening. Thanks for giving me some time. Listen, if you like what I'm sharing, I think it's a story that other people need to hear. Certainly share it, like the video, share it on some groups or some pages, let other people hear it. For some of you guys, maybe I'm new to you. I'm Dr. Joe Borio. I'm a coach. I run Chiropassion Consulting. I'm founder of Chiropassion 10 years ago. We started a program in order to make chiropractic champions, in order to make you the best version of your former self, no doubt about it. I think it's a lifelong ambition to always make ourselves better. I think it is our journey, certainly for you to be the best chiropractor and better today than you were yesterday. And that's what our program's about. We've got 100 docs from all over the world. Today I was on with Australia. I was on with the United Kingdom. I was on with people from the United States, from all over the United States. And it's so great to hear voices and challenges and opportunities and elevate you every day. So we do a weekly webinar. We do a bi-weekly webinar for CA, so we can help train your staff. Manuals and procedures and paperwork. We've got it all. And we teach you to grow a chiropractic, basically subluxation based practice, low overhead, a lot of families, lifetime care, high retention. I've been at it almost 30 years, still at it. I'm going to go at it again tomorrow, and I love it. Probably better at adjusting and better as a chiropractor and better as a communicator than I've ever been in my entire life. And I look forward to continually growing each and every day. And if that sounds like something you want to do and you want to learn from not only me, but 100 other docs in the program, we would love to have you part of Chiropassion CPC. So hit the link above or below. You can learn more about Chiropassion right on our website. We've got several different programs. So some people are looking, with a higher level of commitment. Some people aren't. Some people finances aren't as big of a challenge. Other times it is a little bit more of a challenge. So we've got several different programs to make it really easy and affordable, simple for you to join the program. But certainly check us out. Also, there's a link up there for a free coaching call. So, you get a 30-minute call with me. I'd love to hear your story. Tell me why you're a chiropractor and where you went to school and what's going good and maybe what some challenges are and what your ultimate goal is. And let's talk about maybe some options that we can come up with together to get you to that next goal and the next goal, and ultimately grow your, if you will, your dream practice. But more importantly, to me, anyways, I like to think of it as your dream life. So, hey, thanks for giving me some time today. I know it's been 20 minutes, but I think it's a story that deserves 20 minutes. And I think it's a story that we all need to hear as chiropractors and listen to it several times so we know where we came from and really what the responsibility we have in our hands and what the future holds for all of us, and why we need to do our best job during times of adversity and times where things aren't going so bad. So love and appreciate your virtual hug coming out to you guys. And I will talk to you next week.